Welcome to the Mayor's Perspective Podcast, where Illinois community leaders speak candidly about the state and nationwide decisions that directly impact your community, your wallet, and your future. No spin, no talking points, just real conversations about the policies shaping our communities and what it means for you. Because when decisions are made at the top, they're felt at home.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mayor's Perspective Podcast. I am here with Amber Kubiak, the Village President of Pingree Grove, and Guy Zambetti, the Village President of Gilberts. I am Mike Reid. I am the Village President of Hampshire, and we have a big show planned for you. Welcome. How are you, Guy? You don't look very happy.
I'm always good. No, I'm just looking at how my face looks on the screen. I was telling you guys earlier, like, you know what? the laptop's not really that good. Give me some shiny points. I'm good.
How's Miss Kubiak?
I'm good. Looking forward to spring break. I'm leaving on a trip on Sunday, so ready to go.
Hopefully you're going somewhere warm.
I am. I'm going to the Florida Keys.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
Nice. I hear that's beautiful this time of year. How about you, Mr. Zambetti? Any travel plans?
No, just to work. That's all I do nowadays is work.
You don't sound very happy. See, maybe that's why.
When you live in a town this beautiful, why do I have to leave?
That's fantastic. I also don't. Not that you asked, but I also don't have any travel plans. I think my wife and son are leaving to go exploring, but I'm going to stay home with the dog.
Oh, we can get lunch or something then.
Yeah,
we can pretend we're in the Keys.
Right. It's warm inside the bar. Yeah. That's all we care about, right? Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some topics. Who wants to start us off here?
Well, we're going to talk about it again.
Let's talk about zoning and the development process and new businesses and how that interacts with the community and how that all starts and works.
Okay. This is great. And I know you guys have had the same reactions. We all get the same reactions from people. And some of them I think understand, and some of them I don't think understand how the process works. So there's different components of it. There's, first off, is the property within the boundaries of the village or is it outside the village and it's going to be annexed in? And then there's the part of, does the village own the property or is there a landowner involved that owns the property? And there's so many times when people get very worked up or upset when there is an application before a village, whether they want to put an industrial building or a retail building, a residential project. At times that when the public sees that, they get concerned and they're like, what's the village doing? Why are you guys listening to it? Especially if it's a project they're concerned about and they don't want it. And that's where it could be problematic for us because the understanding is that property owner has a right to develop their property. And there's also things that we have out there as far as what's the zoning on the property? What's some of the legal requirements for the property? And if they fall within all those legal requirements, there's very minimal they have to do. But if they're looking to change things, maybe they're looking for a zoning changer, they would come and put an application to the village. And we have to hear them out, and we should hear them out.
We have a state obligation, right?
Not to hear them out.
Not to restrict their due process. It's the same for any resident. It's the same for, like, even as it comes to a traffic ticket or something like that. A resident, a property owner, whether it be an ordinance violation, they have their right to due process. And we do not have the authority as local elected officials to say, you know what? I don't want that use there, so I'm not going to allow you your due process to put this application through and pay the money and go through that state mandated process.
Right. You have to, and I've seen this so many times. You watch some of these landowners; they might subdivide their land, and where it really kicks you is when a landowner subdivides their land. A developer comes in, a residential developer puts 800 housing units in. Now, 20 years go by, 15 years go by, those people that moved into those homes, when the landowner wants to sell his other half of the property, are offended and mad that he's putting something by their home. And then you get the other side of it, that landowner that whether he lived there his whole life, he's owned the property and handed it down, or he bought it as an investment, company goes, wait a minute. 800 homes went in here, brought a lot of traffic here. I've watched these people put patios on their homes, sheds in their backyards. I didn't come in and complain about every time they wanted to do something. Now I want to actually develop the other half of my property, and they're coming in saying, you don't have a right to do that. How can you put that in our backyard?
We call it in my town NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that argument.
You know what, Amber? I follow you guys. I do it just to watch. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, how are they going to handle this? Classic example. Gilberts pumpkin farm.
Oh, yeah.
They are farmers. They own a farm that's been around how long? We all gone there. We've gone, we see there's a big silo with a pumpkin on it. You know what's there. And then you get people that buy their homes, they move there, and then they step back, and I'm like, oh, they're really saying this. They're like, wait, we have a problem with in October. There's too much traffic. You just brought 800,000 housing units here with families of 4, cars, and you're upset with the pumpkin farm that's once a season selling pumpkins. We're selling them before we moved there.
I always like the example of like up in Rockford, right? There was the Rockford Speedway forever and ever, right? It was there for over 50, 60 years, something like that. And then land around the Speedway got sold and they put up houses. And then there was this coalition of neighbors that was trying to get the racing to stop at Rockford Speedway because the race cars were too noisy. Or my favorite, like out here, we're an agricultural community, right? We have farming all over. Right. And if you have food on your table, you should thank a farmer. I always tell people that because that's fact, right? But they come out and they move out here from wherever they move from, and we're happy to have them as residents to be part of the fabric of our community. But then they get upset about, I don't know, this time of year, get ready, open the windows and take a breath because you're going to smell it. It's all the fertilizer and all the manure and everything else that you need to farm. It's no different than having a garden in your backyard, and they get mad. What is the village going to do about the stench? I'm sorry, they were here first. I don't know what to tell you.
It's crazy to me. I mean, we're building a park with a small pavilion for bands or movie nights. And the people that live behind it are so upset with me because we're putting a park in their backyard. I've heard we're ruining their property value. They don't want to look at a parking lot. Well, let me tell you, they live behind a firehouse that has a parking lot that runs the length of the back of the firehouse building, and then there's a parking lot on the other side of the building. So yes, there is going to be a parking lot there, but there already is an existing parking lot. And the band structure is only going to be used a couple times a year for a couple hours at a time. So it's the least intensive use we could put there. I'm not bringing Woodstock to this. We're not.
Well, there's another side to it, right? So this kind of opens the door to the other part of the conversation, right? So let's use your example. I know it's a little bit different of a conversation because you're the village and that's your property and that's already zoned appropriately, right? But let's take this conversation and say there's an open piece of property adjacent to a subdivision or adjacent to another commercial property, right? And let's say right now it's farm field because that's what we kind of, a lot of us have, right? And so, let's say Guy Zambetti has owned this piece of property for 30 years, right? And then all of a sudden now circumstances have changed and he doesn't want to rent it to farming anymore. Like Guy's never pulled a plow in his life, right? But he's been really good at investing money in property. And so he owns property, he rents it to farmers, they pay rent every year, and the neighbors get used to seeing it always be in this state. Well, all of a sudden something changes in Guy's life, and now he wants to do something with that property, either one, develop it himself to make it like the property that's around the other, that surrounds it, or he wants to annex into the village and then maybe do something to make his property more palatable. So then Guy would pull an application with the village, right? And say, I have an idea. This is what I think I want to put there. Right. And let's kind of walk through that process. Right. And because that's what we're talking about, not restricting people's due process. And that's what we're talking about now, that issue. There's when you as a property owner own that parcel, you have an idea, because that's what we're talking about. The idea of doing something with said piece of property. Right. There's a mandated process that has to be followed. Right. And so that, to bring back to Guy's point, there's certain triggers that happen as you go through that process. They have to work with staff and get an idea of what the zoning is around it. They have to get an idea of what the infrastructure is around it. They need to figure out what they need to do to annex into the village, whether it be running water and sewer, and then if there's any roadway improvements that they need to do and that kind of stuff. So all those negotiations happen, quote unquote, behind the scenes through the application process, right? So that this way, when they put their application through for the state mandated process, where notifications have to go to property owners within a certain diameter. There's a sign that goes up on said property for public hearing dates and times and the intended use of the property or what the property owner is thinking that it would be. And then it goes into the newspaper and that kind of stuff. And then it goes through multiple steps of hearings and conversations in a very public forum where community has the opportunity to give their input. And then it goes to the village board where it's tore apart again, because the Planning and Zoning Commission, not to upset any planning and zoning commissioners, but they really don't have a whole lot of authority. Their job is to make recommendations to the voting body, right? To say, yes, we agree with the property owner. Yes, we agree that I shouldn't say that we agree with the property owner, that we agree that the steps that the property owner has taken has conformed to the state mandated process. This fits our usage. This aligns with everything else. It's not the impact of the community. The impact to the community is not going to be this, or it's going to be this, or whatever. And then we agree that this should either pass or fail. And then they make the recommendation to the village board. Then it's up to the village board to do whatever it wants to do.
To the board of what part, like you're saying, what parts. Let's say they're going for a zoning change. They're going to point out to the board, okay, this application here, they're looking for a zoning change and seeing this building they're putting up, how close is it in the similarity to the previous zoning, or how many issues come up with the zoning change to put on alert of why you might want to object or go with it. The hard part about this, and I feel easier saying this right now because I don't have a current application on the table, and I'd like to hear what you guys are at with this. This gets very difficult for us because once an application's on our table, our board members and our plan commission members might get a little more quiet or a little more reserved, a little more careful of how they talk. And that sends off a signal to the residents. They might have something pre-planned, or why aren't they talking to us? Well, there's a bunch of different components here. Once an application's on the table, your plan commission has a job to go through that and not come up with a biased decision. I've had this before where applications come through and you get residents that don't realize or understand what they're doing, but say, Mr. Plan Commission member, you're supposed to support the community. Can you commit that you're going to vote no to this? Or Mr. Board member, could you commit to vote no? And now, since we're on social media, that's out there. If you go out there and give a promise like that, and that applicant, developer says, whoa, I have people right now on this plan commission that committed, without hearing us out, a biased decision, guess what? We're no longer working for the community. They could challenge it in a court. So instead of you having the full support of your village to try to hear everybody out, you now have a judge sitting in Geneva that doesn't know your backyard, doesn't know your resident, doesn't know the applicant, is going to sit there and make a ruling or a judgment on basically off of black and white of what they're seeing before them. So,
it's funny that you bring that up, because what we've done to kind of, I don't want to say combat that, but kind of help the one applicant learn what it is that our community expects, right? And two, give the residents an opportunity to learn about a project before it hits the state mandated process, is we encourage the applicant and or developer to come to a board meeting and present a concept plan ahead of time, where community members and the board can not commit to a vote. Okay. So, but say, this is what we're presenting. This is what we think we want to do with said parcel. What do you see as a positive? What do you see as a negative? What do you see that's working? What do you see that doesn't? Do you think that, the plan commission would hear this argument, or it would be favorable or whatever. And it's all a bunch of hypotheticals, right? And it's done in open session, right? But they come in with the artwork, right? The site plans and that kind of stuff, preliminary, right? Not like real defined, but like as an example, there's a residential subdivision that's come in to talk to us multiple times, right? That's for development within our community. They came to us the first time. We told them to get out. Like, we told them there's no way that this is anything that we're going to approve, that we have the same type of product and offerings already. It doesn't make any sense why we would approve the same thing. So our advice to them was do something different. Do something to make this like stand out and give us a reason that that we should consider this, right? Not a part of the state process, not a formal or binding vote, but it was an open, honest conversation that the community and the village was able to have at that point, because it wasn't part of that process. And I'd also like to say, as you talk about board members or plan commission members or community members lobbying, for their beliefs as it comes to once the process is started, I can't tell you how many people say, well, I don't see you at the zoning board meetings. How come you're not there? Well, I'm very clear, and it is a free country. I cannot restrict any of my trustees. Nor can the board or planning and zoning commission say that I cannot attend these meetings. But I can tell you my belief is I don't attend zoning board meetings on purpose. And I encourage my trustees not to attend zoning board meetings on purpose. And the reason for that is our presence or an opinion or talking to members of the public, right, if they've got comments, right, has the ability to influence a decision that's being made at the zoning board level. And I don't want my presence or a trustee's presence or comments being said, even to other members of the community in those meetings. I will have my time to say when it comes to before my board, I will have my time, right? And the trustees do too. So I try to encourage them to respect that planning and zoning members should have time for that.
Well, and Mike, here's another thing. It opens the door, and I agree with where you're at, because I feel the same way, but there's the what ifs. You attend one of those meetings, you could very well get either the developer, a resident, or even a plan commissioner or zoning board member to say, actually, the village president's sitting in the back of the room. What's your feeling on this? Now now what do you do? Like, no, we're here to listen through the process, and we want a non-biased to go to the board. We're keeping these separated.
See, I always go to planning and zoning, and I didn't think about it like that. Now I'm like, oh, I should probably back up.
But Amber, it's probably fine if you don't have anything at the time that's really controversial or really heated.
Yeah, no, there really is nothing. We're always
and
making
it's not,
changes to our zoning codes. I just go to listen to see, because I always like to hear everybody's comments and what they're thinking.
I agree with that.
Wait, Mike, we can't hear you.
Quiet.
It's probably better that way. Better that way. We record our meetings, and so like I can go back and listen to the comments at that point. Okay. And so like I don't know. It's gotten pretty heated around here, and I try to do everything I could do because I don't want to end up in court. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we've had to Guy's point. It used to be that people asked questions and they seek to understand the process, right? And once you could have a conversation with them, but now everybody's so accusatory all the time. Yeah. This is a rubber stamp. You're not listening to us. Mm-hmm. I've got emails here. They've got correspondence. Yeah. They FOIA and they get emails, and there's correspondence between us and the developer or staff, or the staff saying, this is the direction I would take this. So that you could get as far as like, these are the steps you need to follow. Yeah. And then it's misconstrued as we're guiding them through said process. And to a certain extent, I guess it could be construed that way. But at the same time, Guy, if you own a piece of property and you've never gone through the development process, I mean, we help residents with everything. Yeah. Yeah. Right. They don't know. I don't know how to get a garbage can. I don't know, who do I contact when I have a street laid out? How do I apply for a building permit? You know what I mean? If we need to walk somebody through the application process, that's not us colluding. That's us doing our job to ensure that they're not putting a application together that's not complete. You know?
And here's another part to this. sometimes when you're trying to reserve and be more open-minded, it does give, like, I'll repeat this, the feeling to people that maybe you already made up your mind. That's why you're getting quiet. The best thing us as a village, and I'm sure you guys have the same thing going on, I always look at it, our residents will sometimes get the feeling that we're doing them an injustice. We're not listening to them because we're not talking. That's the best thing I could do at that point, is let you talk and listen. So before that comes to our board, you're going to go on social media. You're going to give me emails. You're going to call. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to read them. But I'm probably not going to say too much because I can't. Because here's another thing. I'm always trying to watch out, and I feel our board members do this too. The best thing I could do to make sure everybody's heard out is to keep that in our boardroom, to make sure nobody feels slighted and ends up in a courtroom. I want our residents to come and talk. I want that developer to come to talk. I want to hear all of that. At any given point that anybody feels glitched, and nowadays it is a very crazy world. If that developer was to say, you know what, I've owned this property for 20, 30 years. I've marketed, the village has it zoned for this use. I've marketed heavily for 20 years. They put a zoning on me that is unmarketable. They're just restricting my right to develop my property. I put 3 applications in. They haven't heard me out. I'm suing you guys. And there's a chance they could get that overthrown and win. Once it gets decided in a court, you don't have that leverage to talk about bushes and how the landscape's going to look. It's more like, you know what?
So we went through a pretty contentious annexation of a parcel not too long ago. It was the process, I believe, was 182 days. It was very long and drawn out, right? Because there were very passionate people on both sides. And the one thing that was brought up that I agreed with in the end of this, you know, if there's a piece of property that exists currently outside the village and the property owner wishes to annex the property into the village, right? Mm-hmm. You're going from being managed at the county level, which is, I don't know how many people are on the county board, 20, right? I think there's 20 or 18 members of the county board that are from all over the place, and like to Geneva and all that, right? And that's who would manage the vote on any said property, right? When you annex into the village, you have 6 people, and 7, with the mayor included, would be responsible for voting the community's best interest. Where do you think, no disparaging to our county board members, right? That's not what I'm trying to do, but they're not here. They're not living in the community. Like Guy said, we're here. We're living in the community. We're trying to make the best decisions for the people here. And I should say 12 or 14 members, right? Because of the planning and zoning members too.
I just think about, like, Mike, we had somebody that tried to annex into our village, and they wanted to they were going to go through the county level, but decided that it would be better for them to go through and annex with us. But they wanted to bring a recycled cheese factory. And I don't know if you remember that one, because that was on our border.
I remember that. Wait. And it stunk. If I remember right, it was stinky cheese that they were making or something. I remember
that. Can they remake it?
Yeah, I guess they use it for dog food. But I was like, you know, at first I'm like, oh, well, it's not going to be a lot of traffic. But then we started doing research, and it was like I think they were in Mount Prospect, and it was like the stink is back. There were all these articles, and we're like, oh, no. But that was an instance where they wanted to go with the county, or they did not want to go with the county, and they wanted to annex into us simply because they needed water and sewer. Tampa, so they had to come through us, thank goodness. And we just said, no, we can't allow this because of the smell.
Right. And so at that point, the initial conversations that you have with every developer or every property owner at that point, it's no different than like you wanting to extend your driveway or put up a shed. Those initial conversations revealed that there was some aversion right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so is it worth it for the property owner to spend all that money on engineering and due diligence and lawyer and legal, drafting up agreements and all this other stuff to move forward, knowing that there's already opposition? Now that also being said, if they decided at that point, fine, we're gonna roll the dice. Maybe we can sway some people. Maybe we can prove to them that it's not going to be as bad. And yes, it would be a PR nightmare for Pingree Grove at that point, right? Because at that point, everybody would have been like, "Can you believe they're allowing us to have this stinky cheese factory? Look at all these news." I mean, I could play this out. I probably would have enjoyed watching it from across the border. However, at that point, you have no legal right to stop them from submitting the application. They are entitled to due diligence should they choose to move forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same as Hampshire. We ask all of the developers as soon as somebody is like, "Hey, I'm interested in this property. I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z." We have them come and submit their concept plan to the entire board, and anybody that wants to come can come and ask questions or speak whatever they want to say about it.
So I would like to say that you are listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. We're glad that you're listening. We see that our numbers are climbing, so we find that more people are listening to us. Sadly, we are no more international than we were the last episode, but we'll still take that as a win. You can follow us on social media at the Mayor's Perspective on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. You could find us on anywhere you get your podcast. And if you want to be a part of the show or have a question about our show, you can reach us at themayorsperspective@gmail.com. So I don't want to end that discussion, but I wanted to have a little bit of a break because we are 25 minutes in or so. And so we can continue down this path, or we can talk about zoning. We've referenced zoning quite a bit, right? And some people don't.
I'd like to throw this in there because I feel on the sidelines, I've watched you two get hit pretty hard on some stuff. And I want to see what your thoughts are, where you were on it. And I also want to open it up for discussion for our podcast. When property is annexed in and you have a development agreement, a PUD on the table,
can you please describe what a PUD is? I don't mean to cut you off, but nobody knows what that is.
Unit of development. So someone will come in with a development and say for a residential development, there's 800 homes in it, how it's going to lay out, where they're going to be, what caliber, what size they're going to be, single family, townhome. It's going to have full descriptions of what you accepted. It's going to have everything down to impact fees, permitting. Your general village requirements are, I don't want to say put aside, but they're kind of more put aside because this is more of a negotiated agreement that you made with this developer. Now, going along with that, there's different time frames on them, but typically they last about 20 years. Some might go longer, some might go shorter. And then what we see in those, and I've noticed you guys have seen more of them, and I've seen some of the bustle on social media, and I do feel like bad. All of a sudden, 20 years later, some residents come in and say, our town's changing. Why are they allowing this to come in? Or why are this many? You can't go back on that. That 15 years ago, that agreement was made. They already have the lots. They have the permitting to do it. They probably paid for their buy-in to your plant. Your at that point, you're going to lose that battle. I'm talking more than you guys are the ones that. I mean, I haven't had that happen just because we have one going right now, and it is kind of away from a lot of people. Maybe people are happy, maybe they're not. I have seen more of it where there's been a big change or a lot, and then I've seen some blowback to where people were upset about it. And I'm reading it going, they just don't realize what's happening. It wasn't this current board. It wasn't the village itself. This is something that happened 15, 20 years ago, and you're required to honor it.
Yeah, so I can't speak for Amber, but I see that she's in a very, very similar position where a lot of stuff was approved before 2000, and then 2008 happened and the economy blew up, right? And then nobody was building homes. And now the exact opposite, right? Like now we have high interest rates, right? And people aren't moving out of their homes because they can't afford to buy a new home because they're not affordable, nor are they attainable. Shameless plug, mirror ball light just came on. You might want to listen to our last episode as we talk about some of the affordability and attainability and housing conversation. If you haven't, it's a really in-depth conversation with the mayor of Algonquin, Debbie Sosine. So if you're interested in that side of the conversation, please go back and listen to our past episode. But we have a lot of that issue here. And, it's interesting because realtors will say whatever they want to say to sell a home. And I'm not disparaging realtors, but the number one comment I get is, we bought this house and they said that this field was going to remain open forever. Well, I'm sorry. Your house was on the same plan as the house that's going up right now. It just wasn't built out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we got a lot of that, when Cambridge Lakes North was approved and annexed in, people were very upset, but a lot of, and even with Cambridge Lakes started building in 2004. We're now in 2026. A lot of these homes were planned for so many years, and people are so upset. Why are you allowing this? Because we have an annexation agreement. That's why we're allowing it. We have a legal document that says this is what's happening, and we can't go back against it. If we were to say, hey, D.R. Horton, you can't build anymore because we don't want any more of your homes, it's not legally okay. We have an agreement and we have to stick to it, and people get so upset about it.
Yeah, and I think the harder part for me, and I'm sure for you, we've been involved a while. I've been involved since 2013. Yeah. But in my time, we haven't approved a single new residential development. Everything that people see building now was approved back then. Yes. Okay. Asterisks. We've made changes, right? Yeah. They've come to us to ask to make changes. Sometimes we've approached them, right? And, because not everybody wants, as we've talked in the past, not everybody wants a single family home on a large lot. Not everybody wants a 2-story home. Some people want duplexes. We need targeted senior housing. We need people's first homes. We need people's last homes. So yes, we have made changes, but the vast majority of the growth and the building that people see now was approved years ago.
Yeah. And you also, one of the other things I always think of when people complain to me about, well, why is this going there? Why is this allowed to be here? Is each one of us has a comprehensive plan for our village. Our comprehensive plan was done, I think, in 2015 was the last time it was updated. And that's what we use to decide where our zoning is, what's commercial, what's residential, what's industrial. And so when people say to me, well, why are you allowing that to go there? Well, because that's what's planned. That's how the property's zoned. And that's why we're allowing it, because it fits the allowed use. We can't go against that.
So this is a good conversation, unless I'm sorry, Guy, you had something to add to that? I was going to suggest we transit.
I was going to cause a little drama and jump down a rabbit hole.
Ooh, oh boy. Let's do it.
Well, as long as Amber's real willing to go on the ride, she's going to keep me in my lane if I'm speaking inappropriately. This is a very interesting story, and here's a little history lesson, and maybe I'm going to get schooled on some of the history. We're a perfect example of developers, working with communities. The village of Gilberts and the village of Pingree Grove, we went through a lawsuit with pretty much each other that was really driven by a developer. And now, we have no hard feelings against Pingree Grove. I don't feel that they have it towards us.
Yeah, we do.
We lost property that was in Gilbert's future planned area to Pingree Grove. Now, there's multiple components of that. I was involved with this village at the time. I first got involved with this village at that time. Gilberts was and we still are to an extent, we had residents that were we don't want to develop. We want to preserve. And I understand that. And then you had Pingree Grove, and I don't know all the discussion that happened over there, but there were a lot of forces there. There was the threat and concern that they were going to be consumed by, I believe, Elgin.
Yeah, Elgin.
There was a boundary agreement that the village of Gilberts made with Pingree Grove, and we made the same agreement with Elgin saying, we'll agree with both of you guys. We won't go on that side of the line. Elgin, we won't go on that side, and Pingree Grove, even though you both are saying that that's yours over there, we don't care about yours. We just care about ours. And what happened with that lawsuit, the developer and property owner said, wait. You guys all have this going on. We have property that we have a right to develop. And now you're kind of getting into the middle of restricting this. So at the end of the day, it went through a lot of channels. It went to Springfield. It went through court systems. It was a difficult process for all of us. we lost the property. And part of it was, and I understand this, how long until you're going to have service lines, water and sewer out here to service these people's property? They want to develop and they're ready now. We didn't have them. Pingree Grove was capable because the developers like, hey, you let us come in, we're going to solve your problem. We're gonna have put these services in. We're going to enhance your town, and we're going to help to the extent because this is happening. You're not going to get consumed. And so when I'm watching this kind of breaks my heart a little bit because when I watch some of the residents, even in Pingree Grove, get upset. It's like, okay, I understand one part of it, but there was a lot of good things that came of that for Pingree Grove. And I'm also looking at it from the side of when I hear my residents saying, just say no. We don't need that. We can't, okay, things are happening. There is a point where you need to kind of take a position. There is a point where you need to come to the table and communicate and work with stuff, or you're all going to lose.
Yeah.
So, and Amber, by all means, add to that, whatever. I wanted to throw that out there. Like, here's a perfect example of something that happened a while ago. We're all on good terms now. We're working together now, but
yeah,
it happened because of things not happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. And the water and sewer is always something that is very challenging. I know for us, that's one of our biggest challenges. How are you going to get water and sewer there? It's very costly. I don't think people realize, like, for some of our properties, it's $1.5 million to get the water and sewer there. And then you add in IDOT, challenges with roadways, and you're looking at 3-4 million.
How many phone calls do you get? I mean, that they say, hey, I'm really interested in developing said parcel, and I see that it's within your planning area. Okay, great. Let's talk about it. Okay, I want to put in whatever, right? Let's say that I don't even know what type of property use I could say that would not offend somebody, right? But let's say that they want to put up a building of any kind. And then they go, okay, do you have water and sewer? And we say, no, we don't have water and sewer there. So you can either put a well in now and then connect when we get it there, or you could pay to run the water and sewer. And then they find out that that's going to cost them $3 million. And they're like, no, thanks, I'm good. I'll go somewhere else.
But you offer a recapture agreement, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And for all you folks out there, a recapture agreement is when they say, okay, you run the water and sewer to your property that's miles out from the closest main, and we're going to make you oversize it to serve all the property in between. And when they decide to jump on, they'll pay that portion of their buy-in to that main that got oversized. But if it doesn't happen in 15 or 20 years, they might lose that and they might not get the recapture either.
Yeah.
So as we talk about this, you are listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. Please follow us on Facebook and social media and that kind of stuff. We've talked a little bit about the zoning. We've talked about a little bit about the development process and all the pitfalls and joys and all that kind of stuff. Can we talk about how we go about attracting and retaining local businesses, maybe new businesses? Because some of the complaints that we get on a regular basis is, I want a Starbucks, or I want a Target. How come we don't have a Target? And then somebody inevitably, well, the village said that the Target couldn't be here. The village said that the Starbucks couldn't be here.
Oh, boy.
And so, or they get mad. Sorry, I'm looking at you, Amber. They get mad when some store decides that they're going to build in your community and they want it to be a different store. So can you explain some of that, please?
I think this is such an interesting topic, right? Because I definitely, before I joined the village board, had a much different perspective. In my mind, it was much easier. Why can't we have a grocery store? Why can't we have a Target? It should be so easy. And the reality is, I myself have traveled to ICSC, which is the International Conference for Shopping Centers. For several years, we went down there and talked to them, and forever, different retailers told us, oh, well, our target is 10,000 or 15,000 residents. When retailers are looking at your village, they're looking at a 1, 3, and 5 mile radius around your village and how much development is going on there and what the populations look like. And that's how they decide where they're going to put their stores. They look at population, they look at like what the average income is in the village, and they look at
traffic count,
Also, like roadways for me, I'm lucky because I'm right off of Route 47. I'm right off of Route 72. I'm right off of Route 20. The busier the road, the more likely is that we're going to attract these businesses. But there's so much that goes into it. And then also, like we talked about, is the water and sewer. Like, how easy is it for them to get utilities? I can tell you, we talked to Albertsons for probably 2 years before we ended up getting hooked up with this developer that they use. And then they finally said, yes, we're interested in this property. And the property that they chose is right at Route 72 and Route 47. And they chose that because they know that they will draw residents not only from Pingree Grove, but also from Hampshire and also from like Burlington, anybody going on 72. They'll probably draw in people from Highland Woods and Elgin because of the location. So they looked at the location, but they also looked at that property was shovel ready. It has water, it has sewer, it has all the utilities. It's ready to go. So I think that people get confused. I hear a lot of times, oh, I want Walgreens. And it's like, well, have you watched the news? Walgreens isn't building. CVS isn't building. They're closing their stores. Target, good luck getting a Target. They're also, if they're building in places where the population is 100,000. They're not looking at a place where the population is 12,000. So you have to, it's not our choice. We don't own the property. And we're not the retailer, so I don't have a lot of say. All I can do is look to say, okay, these are the incentives I can offer you. Yes, I can offer you sales tax sharing to offset some of the costs that you're going to have for your IDOT or to build or whatever it is. But beyond that, the village doesn't have a lot of control in terms of how they attract. We send out stuff all the time. We call different retailers to say, hey, we're interested in talking with you. A lot of them are like, yeah, but then they look at our stuff and they say, hey, can you send us stuff? And we put together a small brochure that gives information on, what are our housing starts look like? How many permits are we pulling? How many permits are our neighbors pulling, so that it shows them what kind of development is going on around us. But
this is interesting because I watch our three communities. They're a lot alike, but they're different in a lot of ways. And it's fun. It's not funny, but we're a little more east of you guys, which I would think that we attract more of it, and we don't. And I get a lot of pushback from our residents, like, we want storage, we want to be able to walk to this. And Amber, like you're saying, we've looked and done the same research, and a lot of them want, even to the extent of, we want to be on north and south corridors. We don't care for the east and west as much as we care about the north and south. Expressway ramps, like you said. Density is a huge one. So I will get residents that will push back saying, we don't like a lot of townhomes, or we don't have any condos in town. We have no apartments in town. Our residents fight about the density for it. But that is also a component that really does drive some of that retail. So where you might not get their favorable north-south route, but maybe you have a really dense pattern of residents there. It's like if you don't have any of them, and then you try to explain, listen, you could not believe me. I could produce a lot of charts for you. You could not believe those. You could actually physically look. Let's go over to West Dundee, which is even one town east of us. It's right between 31 and Randall. You've seen a mall get torn down. You've seen a Target get closed. You've seen
Best Buy, Circuit City.
Like, it's not there. Like the retail, we've all seen this.
Well, I mean, and that's just the reality of retail, right? Like, I used to work for Sears Holdings. I worked for Sears Holdings for over a decade. I was a buyer for them. The retail industry is just shrinking so much, and so much of that is because we're all purchasing on Amazon. I'm certainly guilty of that myself. It's like, oh, I could go to the store, but instead I'll just buy it online because I'm too lazy to go, But that's the reality. The retail world is shrinking, so you really have to be able to capture them, and so much of that is density and also location, and like you said, the north-south route. The reality is we have the exit and entrance to Route 90 at the north end of my town, and we have Route 47, which will continue to grow. The growth in Huntley certainly is helping us as well.
I mean,
let's face it, Elgin's building I think it's 4,000 units right at our border. That is, I mean, it's going to be.
And they got to get to the expressway.
Yeah, it's going to be a positive, but a negative. A positive because it'll help us get the retail and the commercial that residents want. A negative because of traffic and because of the fact that, IDOT is really like 20 years behind when you look at when I'm thinking of Route 20 over by Nestler, they just made improvements now. I mean, how many years ago was Providence built? It should have been addressed then. So I have real concerns for Route 47, Route 20, and Route 72.
It's an interesting conversation because somebody says, what do we have to do to, I mean, even when you talk about, you talk about external forces, right? Like everybody thinks that you're the village and everybody thinks that you're in control of everything, right? So what do we have to do to get X? What do we have to do to this? And so like, as somebody said to me the other day, like, we could really use a bakery. I said, well, there's plenty of open spots downtown. Buy the building and open a bakery. Like, that there's, we don't control it. So we don't allow it, especially on property, like in our downtown, or especially on property that's already annexed or zoned a specific way. Like if you wanted to build a building, right, and it's already zoned for that, you just need to follow the rules and submit building permits. That's it. Right. And then once that building is built, if you don't need a liquor license in our town, right, there's no other permit you need, right? You don't need, you could open up a shoe store if you wanted, right? There's nothing there. But if you wanted to open up a shoe store that sold booze, then you got to come before the liquor commission. You know what I mean? That's it. And so like, we don't regulate that. We regulate by the zoning code and stuff. My detriment in our community is that we don't have, our downtown's only so big. The shops that are available now are older and they need work. And so there's some capital investment that has to be done. So it doesn't really, the numbers really don't work for the people that are coming in, right? The people that are downtown have vested interest in the community. So they take that bigger pill to swallow and invest in the community. So that helps. But like, we don't have empty strip malls for the most part. We have some empty spots on the strip mall, but we have property. We have property that's zoned and annexed, but somebody still needs to build the building. And that's a hard pill to swallow right now. And, we had a strip mall that was supposed to go up, but then didn't go up. And it's still in the process of going up because they were almost ready to go right before COVID. And then they had agreements with businesses and everything. And COVID happened, right? And it was unsure times. And so that parcel is still there with the sign that says coming soon. And so, and hopefully it comes, right? Because we could use it, but you got, it's a numbers game. Everything's got to work. And you talk about, like, again, external forces being in charge of, everybody thinks that you're the mayor, you should walk around with a crown because you're in charge of everything. I had somebody yelling at me the other day about internet, that because my neighborhood happens to have fiber, that every neighborhood in town should have fiber. And like, there's some kind of idea that my neighborhood has fiber because I live in it. Like, it's just unreal to me.
Because you needed to run a podcast.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
but,
that is good.
yeah, I guess that's it. But this was, okay, what control do you have over AT&T or Mediacom or Comcast in your town?
None.
You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, it goes, I always tell everybody, I'm the guy with the biggest target on my back. And it's like, I'm like Rodney Dangerfield walking around this town because I don't get no respect. It's just the way that it is.
No, I agree. I will say the one other thing, you made me think of this, Mike, with your downtown. The one thing we have done is we've had businesses come into our heritage district, what we call our heritage district. We have, obviously everybody's probably heard of the Milk House, the ice cream. And then we have Gather, which is like an event.
My waistline's heard of the ice cream shop.
Well, has your waistline heard of the Cottage Sweets? Because they just opened up the bakery. But like for those,
it's a sponsorship opportunity, Cottage Sweets. Send it and we'll enjoy your treats on the next podcast. Just saying.
I was enjoying their treats earlier today. They had some delicious red velvet.
I noticed that you said that last time too.
Yeah,
you do go there a lot.
I do.
And
I sure do.
She never shares. She never brings it over ahead of time so we can enjoy it on the podcast. Nothing.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time. But anyway, what we did with these businesses, because they had to transform older homes into businesses, we have a program where we do a 50-50 split on infrastructure, on those types of things, any kind of upgrades to the buildings to make them businesses, we do a 50-50 grant so that they can take advantage of that.
And we have a facade improvement program that we have recently suspended for the current year because we need to update our comprehensive plan. So instead of funding that this year, that's been going since 2017. But I mean, that's $100,000 that we've been doing a year. People think that's a lot of money. That's really not a lot of money. And the public-private investment is enough to kickstart things. But there's some municipalities, as we talk about incentives, right? You were talking about sales tax incentives, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's great, but you only get 1%. So sales tax is what in Kane County, 7.5%. So you're only rebating your portion of that. So I mean, now a larger retail establishment that works, right? But like you got to sell a lot of cheeseburger for that to be, a lot of cheeseburgers at a restaurant for that to work, right? Especially at that 1%. You could do things like water and sewer rebates, right? That doesn't cost money. And the argument behind that is like, you're getting nothing now. So what's nothing for a little bit longer if it brings something, right? So, absolutely. I mean, but as it relates to, I don't know what you do in Gilberts, maybe it's a case by case basis, but it's, you take money out of your general fund to create an economic and development incentive, and that helps to a certain extent, but some municipalities have a hard enough time making a go of it as it is, right? Yeah. And then on the other end of it, there's some municipalities that are doing so well, even within the county, right? That's what makes economic development in this specific county so difficult, is there's other municipalities within the county, within our geographic region that like has a war chest. And it's like, oh, you're going to come in here? Here, we'll give you a couple $100,000 for infrastructure, or we'll give you a couple hundred, and it's like, okay, well, if I want what XXX town is going to give me if you want me to stay in Hampshire. I said, well, let me know when you want me to come by and pack your boxes because I can't come close. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're the same way. We don't have a ton of money to hand out. We're just trying to do what we can. But the reality is there just isn't a lot we can do.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so we just try to do the best that we can do, right? And try to foster the good. Like we try to sell it on the development process, right? We try to make it easy to do business with. Absolutely. We try to partner with them. We don't want to beat them up, when it comes to ordinance violations or something. Like, I mean, we are blessed here. We've got good partners with the bars and stuff and the restaurants, and they don't really try to cause trouble. And, that's not to say stuff doesn't happen, but when stuff does come up, rather than dropping the hammer right away, we call them all the time and say, hey, did you know that this is going on? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let's figure, what do I need to do to make it right? You know what I mean? Because you don't want to have to, and so that's what I find our community sells. Our community is the incentive. Doing business here in this area is the incentive. And that's why I appreciate the relationship with you guys. I mean, how many times are we all in each other's restaurants together, fundraising, doing whatever, right? Trying to encourage our residents from Hampshire to go to Pingree and go to Gilberts. You know what I mean? Like we try to, because we're like, we all succeed together, we all fail together. And Absolutely. So this has been phenomenal because, I don't know, I walk into Cruise and they're like, what are you doing here? He's not here. And then anytime Guy's in town, there's somebody texted me a picture. Or he's trying to sneak onto my floats in a parade.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, it's like you try to be creative with stuff. It is tough out there, and even perfect scenarios, it's tough to keep stuff going. And you see these communities with like a higher population and stuff, and I can't look at it where our populations are around 8,000 to 10,000, all three of us, but together we're pushing around 25,000, 30,000. So instead of me trying. I love our local establishments. I love our Pub 72. I love our Cruisin'. I love Rosati's. There's only so many times I'm going to eat that piece of pizza, though. There's only so many times I'm going to get that burger. So if I could try to encourage, hey, like we go to these other places. We go to Pingree. We go to Hampshire to support their family-owned businesses. And if we could pull some of them that support ours, like it goes further then. Like it's now we're pulling from about maybe 30,000 to 8,000.
Right. Yeah. I always use the analogy as I love green M&Ms, but every now and then I want a red one.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, that's why I never understood, and I still do not understand, communities that are right next to each other that don't get along. And that was one thing that when we all got into this, we kind of all agreed that it wasn't the right way to do it. To be able to pick up the phone, and these are great conversations. But I mean, we've had difficult ones too. Amber and I have had difficult ones. Guy and I don't think we've had any bad conversations involving the two. Yeah. No, what I'm saying in between yours and my community. But Amber, you're right on the border.
Right.
And I know that like Huntley, we've had some conversations, and to be able to pick up the phone and go, hey, I got to have one of these mayor conversations. And it's all right, lay it on me. Let's do this. You know what I mean? But we've got enough of a relationship that it's not us versus them. You know what I mean? And that's the way that it was so many years.
That's huge. Like I've had it with Amber. I've had one with Debbie Algonquin. Like I look back. I mean, and I've been involved with like this over 20 years. I look back. The typical go-to with even I'm going to pick on our village. The typical go-to would get to be defensive, close down, keep it within, because they felt they were protecting and defending the village. And then a lot of times it goes right to a legal thing. It goes right to now you're spending thousands, or even a lot more than that, in legal battles. And that part, at least between municipalities, I gotta say, like I haven't run into any of our neighbors that we've gotten into legal battles. Like that's been
challenge
very
accepted,
beneficial, very cool that we've been able to pick up the phone and been like, let's not get stupid here. Let's figure this out amongst each other. And
right.
And everybody's been
because who does it end up hurting the most?
It costs us a bunch of money, and then
exactly
the attorneys make it, and the court makes it.
Right. Well, and your staff is tied up on that instead of doing what they should be doing, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I've appreciated the ability to call you guys with good and bad news. We've all been able to help each other out, which is nice. I think that's important. Mike, I always think how you told me, like, I think on the day after I was elected, that this is a lonely job.
It is a lonely job.
I know. But, it's nice to have somebody else that I can
You can only complain to your family so much.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the truth. But yeah, I think that because we're all in the same corridor on 72, like your success is our success. And we should all look at it that way, right? Like the more we work together, the better we make our entire area.
Well, and just the example, it's been a while, but I want to say back when the Pingree Gilberts one happened, I wish that went different. The amount of money that got spent, we might have been at the same spot, but it wouldn't have taken so much time to heal. It wouldn't have taken so much time to get where we are. I want to say there was close to $1 million dumped into that legal battle from this village's side. That was ridiculous. Wow. That lost. We got nothing out of that. Like a little agreement, but and for what?
I think that a lot of things can just be worked out.
We could have, if it was me and you, we probably would have been like, okay, here's where the developer is. Realistically, where is this going to fall? And let's figure something out. We had something similar, just recently. I want to say with Algonquin, there was a developer that was trying to do some development, and then it was a matter of me picking up the phone. Me and Debbie talked through some stuff, and we all got to a place of where we needed to be, and there was no lawsuits, there was no working against each other, fighting with each other. It was great.
Well, that's clear. She was our last guest.
Yeah.
I mean, she if it was negative, right? She would have been like, "There's no way I'm going on the podcast," right. Or we would have had to end it short because she would have been blowing you up on the video.
Yeah, we got some nasty texts. Yeah.
Hey, so we've probably got a few minutes left here. We're just at an hour, right? And this has been great. We've covered nothing of all of the things that we wanted to cover, but the conversation was where it needed to be. I feel. I do want to open it up for happy hour, but before I open it up for happy hour, we got an email saying that our podcast has been pretty good. And she would like, it says, longtime listener, first time caller. I hear you reference council of government a lot. What is a council of government and how do they operate? How do they benefit your town? Just curious. So I think
I wonder who that came from.
I wonder if we could get a guest on here to talk about it, or maybe we can include that in our next conversation, right?
I think that could be something, we talk about.
Maybe it depends who it is.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if who I'm thinking about and who you're thinking about would be worth it. So anyway, so we're going to be talking about good stuff. So I'm gonna crack my bottle.
I've just got a seltzer.
I just got water and it's empty.
I'm ready.
What is it?
All right.
I've got some Traveler whiskey.
Oh, I thought maybe you were doing like pickleback shots or something.
No. After the week I had and the trip I just had, I feel that I needed the strong stuff.
That was self-infliction.
It really was.
No, it was fantastic.
You were taken in handcuffs. You drove.
It is.
You were taken in handcuffs.
That's fantastic. So what's going on? What's going on in Gilberts that you want to talk about? What's going on?
You know what? Nothing that much. Actually,
Easter egg hunt ready?
Saturday. And my car condos that have been going on forever sounds like they're going to be hitting the next plan commission meeting for the finals, and they're going to be breaking ground.
Where do I sign up to protest?
What?
Where do I sign up to protest?
I'll tell you afterwards where you can go.
I'm totally kidding. You know what? I think that is such a really, really cool concept. I really think that is such a unique concept.
That's what I liked about it. I'm like, it's going to help us like kind of separate and get something different. You know, I felt we need something to drive. And there's multiple components that sold me on that thing. I've been very supportive of it because it's like, okay, that's a classic example. That was supposed to be retail. And I was like, retail's not there. It's on a curve on top of it. This will bring some retail components. They do have some retail users that are looking to come in, smaller ones. I'm like, this is perfect. These are people that are I think they're going to be running about $300,000-$400,000 car condo units. There's going to be money going to the school district that produces no kids. So it's a plus really for them. Awesome. These people with these Porsches, Ferraris, they're not driving them. They're not. You don't live in them. The traffic's not hitting our roads on normal work days. Rush hour, wintertime, forget it. No one's taking those cars out in snow. I'm like, this is going to provide some tax revenues and not use a lot of services.
And it's not like it's a racetrack or mechanics in like a speed shop, right? You're not going to be hot rodding around your neighborhood. The tires for these cars cost some of the cars that I own in my garage.
Yeah. Well, then there was some concern like, oh, they're going to speed through the neighborhoods. I could be wrong with this. They're not going to go through, no one's taking their Ferrari or whatever car it is through a residential neighborhood with garbage cans and everything. They're going to get on the road and head on to a little trip up to Lake Geneva or something. They're not looking to go through the 20-mile-per-hour street and some 50-year-old man is looking to do burnouts in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's such a unique concept. I mean, I think that when I saw that, I was like, man, they should have come up the road a little bit.
Yeah.
So are you ready for your Easter egg hunt? You got all your eggs all filled with candy?
Yeah, they're filled. We're ready to rock and roll.
Your eggs
are
runneth over?
Ahead of time.
Ahead of time Saturday. We have to be. It's a lot of eggs.
No, I mean, you still got a couple days. Over in Pingree, we're still filling stuff.
What?
No, we don't do an Easter egg hunt, but if we did, we'd be doing it.
You don't do an Easter egg, but you have people that do Easter egg hunts.
Yeah, we have HOAs. We have 2 different HOAs that run their own Easter egg hunts. We don't do one.
I think you should do an adult Easter egg hunt.
I love that idea.
No.
Why not?
No.
Because our adults get it to be really fun, and we've gotten some really fun stuff. I could only imagine what would happen with the Easter egg hunt. Letters to Santa have gotten interesting. Little things that turn up in our mailbox have gotten interesting. That go in my mailbox have gotten interesting. I've gotten little Debbie snack cakes. I've gotten some letters that say things that I think.
I got the letters. I got a lot of
I got little figurines. Yeah. A lot of treasures. So I don't know if I want to go into adult Easter eggs because I have a feeling I could guess some of the things that might show up in those things.
Well, let's save that for the Unfiltered Mayor's Perspective podcast.
Another time. Now, I will say this was a funny aspect. So 2 years ago, we had our Easter egg hunt, and we have it at the Eagles Club in the field. There is a house that had a bunch of chickens that weren't allowed. And we talked to the individual. They got rid of the chickens. Well, the chickens must have come back. And we're kind of one of those communities, like, we don't look for people unless they get called on. And we cut out. You see me still?
Mm-hmm.
You hear it? Okay. We have the Easter egg hunt, and there's probably about 25, 30 illegal chickens on the Easter egg hunt field. And it's really hard when your village president, your administrator are all out there. I'm like, don't look at them. They're not here. Because you don't want to bust them. And the kids are like, there's chickens. Like,
laying real eggs intermixed with the Easter eggs. Kids are cracking open eggs easy over easy.
Yeah.
Sounds like a terrible idea. What's going on in Pingree?
You know what, Mike? The only thing I got this week that I'm excited about is we had our banners put up. We got the 250th anniversary of the United States banners in front of our municipal center and our police station. But then we finally got Pingree Grove banners throughout the rest of the village. Those are going up right now.
I need to see what these things look like.
Yeah.
What are you putting them on? Are you putting them on light posts or something? Or are you putting them on poles or?
They're on our light poles. Yeah, we added, like, I don't know, you got whatever.
Brackets.
I'm not a public works person, but they got the bracket things.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they look nice. I thought it.
Ladder truck. Does your ladder truck start
like
when they shut it off, or do they got to leave it running?
No, we have a lovely bucket truck that we purchased.
Yeah, we just bought a new one. We just bought a new one
because
we
borrow yours.
We just bought
I'm joking.
We just bought a new one because they tried to take the star off our Christmas tree and they got stuck.
Oh my! That wouldn't be good. No, yeah, we got a new one a couple years ago, so I'm sure they're using that for putting up these banners. But they look nice. You know, a couple years ago we did Christmas decorations on all of our light posts through the Heritage. Well, through like Rhine King Road on Rhine King Road.
Okay.
People really liked it, so we're trying to put up these. Yeah, we got so much, positive feedback. So we got the banners now that'll go up for the rest of the year. And we're putting them like at all the main entrances through town and then down Rhine King Road. So
guys all into the festive.
I do like this.
I
could. Maybe I'll steal this idea.
Which is surprising that you don't have a drink with us because I know you like festive drinks.
It's later. I got to try to lose some weight. Summer's around the corner. I need to run a 5K probably. I'm thinking Dad Bod's mayor calendar. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think? You think that'll sell? We could do it as a fundraiser. No.
Do it for a special
cause. I don't think we should advertise it here, that's for sure. What do you got going? What do you have over there going in here?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of big. Oh, our public works building we're getting ready to move into. Pretty excited about that. Got to drive. They let me in the parking lot the other day. It looks pretty nice.
I drove by it. I was in Hampshire today. I went to pick up my son, and I drove by your building.
That too.
Yeah, she long drives to Cottage Suites now, so she has more time to eat them before she gets home.
I do. I love Cottage Suites. Oh my gosh, Guy knows. He's been there too.
Oh yeah,
he loves it too. It's so good. I love all their stuff.
Wait a minute. There is some news. I follow your stuff probably more than you think. I watch everything. Chicken Dip's open.
Chicken Dip is open. Yes,
and I saw an announcement that the coffee place,
Hampshire Social's coming back. So Brent Simpson and his wife, they operate Double R Barbecue, the food truck, and that's at a lot of our local events. And then he operates Double R Dogs downtown State Street. Has just announced that they've taken over the recently closed Hampshire Social, so they hope to be open in a couple of weeks. And we've had a couple of exciting conversations about some stuff to come. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It was a big thing for our community to actually have a coffee shop. It was well attended. I still don't know methodology of why it closed, but that's, not for me to know. But Brent and his wife Holly are really great stewards of the community, and they're looking to do some more cool things, and we're very, very excited. And if you're hankering for a corned beef sandwich at Double R, this isn't, they don't sponsor, although they should. They have their corned beef panini until the end of the month. It's like 10 of 10. So, but I know you just referenced you needing to lose weight, so maybe you should, maybe you could have a sandwich.
Maybe if I'm good for the weekend. You need to reward yourself sometimes too.
That is true. All right. Well, I think that's about it. What do you guys think?
I'm good.
I think it's good. Oh, sorry. One more thing real quick. I know I talked about it last time, but Nico's is back open now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great too. Heck
yeah.
And I went over there. I met Nico, I think, earlier this week and just walked through, and he's redone a lot of the inside. Everything's new inside, so I encourage people to go check it out. I'm super happy he's back.
We need to figure out a way to do a live episode or something and do it.
I was in there on opening day, and I was my ass was the first one in one of the chairs. I'm taking ownership of that.
Do they have
they got new bar stools, right?
Yes,
the bar stool feels like a Lincoln Town car. I mean, not like really back about 10, 15 years ago. It's like your couch. I was like, this is nice.
Yeah, they're really nice.
That's how you that's how you evaluate bar stools, by how they are as automobiles. If it was like a Corsica or a Pinto, you're not in.
Oh,
it was so car, 100%.
The best bar stool I've sat in.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining, and thanks for listening. We're going to hopefully have another episode in another few weeks. If you have any questions, it's themayorsperspective@gmail.com. Follow us on all your social media platforms at The Mayor's Perspective. I thank you both, as always.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later, I guess.
Guys. Good to see you guys.
All right.
Is it off?
Thanks for listening to the Mayor's Perspective podcast. If today's conversation matters to you, share it with someone who cares about the future of their community. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming discussions with leaders from across Illinois tackling the issues that impact your city, your wallet, and your future. Because when decisions are made at the top, they're felt at home. Let's talk again soon.